Hit it.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Just give me some more. Have it in. Give me some more. Just give me some more.
All right, and we are back, and today we are looking at Great Lakes Distillery from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Their Menomonee Valley Single Malt, which I have to give a shout out to Jonathan Friday, who sounds like a made-up investigative private detective from like a movie. Jonathan Friday, CIA or FBI, but he's a real person. He's I don't want to say he doesn't work for us, but he's an agent for us. He was down there and got this bottle when they were having the release. And he got it signed by the stupid reverse camera, the actual owner of and creator Guy Rayhorst of the actual Great Lakes Distillery. So thank you, Jonathan, for doing that. We'll implore your services whenever we can get a chance. But this one is 100%. Malted barley mash. It is bottle 285 of 338, 45% alcohol, and it is aged 10 years. So this is, I think, one of the oldest releases of whiskey in Wisconsin because they are Wisconsin's oldest distillery, or original distillery after Prohibition is kind of the way I like to look at it. They laid a lot of groundwork for everyone else by changing some of the laws and restrictions and BS crap that kind of went on with it. So they did a really nice job of opening stuff up. And earlier this week, we had the marketing director, Russ, on. So check that out over there. I'm getting better at that. It's over there above Mike's head, and we'll get some more. You get more explanation of the actual distillery itself, along with some of their other releases, because they do have a nice core line, Kinnikinnick, a rye, and a bourbon, and the single malt that they have here. But they also have a couple other releases that they do annually as well too that disappeared pretty quick. So that's why I wanted to get Jonathan out there and kind of snag this one. So, how are you guys doing this week? After Easter, that is.
Doing good. Full of bread and food.
That's fair. What are you guys getting on the nose of this one? I was worried I was not going to get enough, and I actually kind of poured a massive pour here. So this is actually got a nice kind of ambery kind of color to this one, like a light amber hue to this one. Pretty decent legs on it.
Yeah.
It takes
you can really get in there on this. Is it 45? Is that right?
45 is what this one is. So,
yeah, right off the bat for me, honey.
Yeah.
And I get a little touch of like a sandalwood type note to it.
mm-hmm. It's not. I'm going to say it. Sorry, I shouldn't have taken a drink, but I got excited. That's what happens. It's not as overpowering as some other single malts that are out there. It's a little more lighter. I'd say Glenmorangie type. I don't know. It doesn't attack you in the style like that. Glenmorangie doesn't attack you. It just, you're getting notes, but it's not like aggressively kind of coming at you like some other single malts are.
There's something interesting here. I'm trying to nail down exactly what it is. It's kind of buried a little bit behind that sandalwood note that I pick up, but it's very interesting. Reminds me of some kind of like some type of cracker or cookie or something, but I can't nail it down.
I think I know what you're talking about, because I've got, aside from little fruit and vanilla and honey, and there's a mild grass, but it's like a like a cracker that's got some herb on it.
Yeah.
That just has that, like a garlic butter and herb on there, but it's just like this mild thing, almost like I hate to say crouton, but something that's.
I get you with that. Or it's like a baked bread that's got a little bit of something to it.
Yeah, there is an herbal note to it, or that's a good way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just totally fixated on it. I'm trying to get past it.
Yeah.
But Ben's right, totally. The honey is in there. like a light pear almost. Like there's a fruit note, but it's a
Yeah.
light kind of like a pear. I wanted to go as deep as an apricot, but
I would almost say starfruit.
that's fair. That's a fair assumption on that. But yeah, you're right. You can really get in here to try to find it, and there's not a problem sniffing. I'm in the glass when I'm when I'm inhaling. So it's not there's no alcohol burn or kind of smell that goes with this one whatsoever. It's not like this or ooh, I'm like
Feel free to climb right in and make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, you can get in there a little bit.
It's a huffing whiskey.
But yeah, even when I get in there more, that. But actually, that is where I got more of that kind of that herbal, like cracker kind of bread note. Was after I was down in there.
Yeah, you got to really get in there to pull some of that stuff out.
I think it's a bread pudding or a creme brulee kind of note to it.
Yeah, it's the nose. It's not that it's a simple nose at all. I think it's a little dense, so it's kind of hard to pull some stuff out of it.
Yeah, and like it sounds ridiculous, but a subtle dense.
Yeah,
where it's a lot of light things kind of floating around in there, but there's some it's. You have to get in there a few times to start pulling other notes. If you just went by it the first time, I don't think you'd be giving it enough justice. Ooh,
honestly, it smells a little young to me for a 10-year.
Well, that's
where I get a little bit of that grass.
Mm-hmm.
But not the sharp, grassy note.
Almost like a green hay note, but I mean it's light, but like a green hay note.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
It hits at the end. It's like there. It's like, oh, there you go.
All right. Since I poured a hefty pour, I'm gonna go into it.
And is this? Did you say this? Is this pot still?
It could be. I know they do have a pot still there. I didn't ask that one. And maybe that will come up in the discussion with Russ about what that was. But I know they have both there. So I would assume so, but I don't know if that's what they used right away or if they had that one right off the bat. And I don't see it on there telling me if it is. Let me check the back of the bottle. I feel like a dope, but
wow, that is not like the nose.
No. That's different. There's some nice baking spice.
Yeah.
With like stewed apples or pears.
Yeah, but it's like the spices is like crusted on top of them, and they slightly caramelized.
Mm-hmm.
No, it does not.
It's like a layer to get through.
Does not say it on the back. Not that it should. That's my fault. Blame me. But
there's a dense honey. And there's something sour, a little bit sour in there. Trying to figure out.
I get that. I'm also getting like a little apple. Like you said, that spice. Like it's 2/3 of the way through when that spice starts to kind of peel up, or maybe it was just when I was opening my mouth to drink it, but that was coming through a little bit later on it.
I get a little waxy.
Creme brulee comes through on the finish for me.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit in barrel note too.
Yeah,
getting on definitely on the finish of it. Not aggressive, mild, clingy on the finish, sticking to the sides of my mouth. It's not an overpowering flavor, but you can tell it's been there.
Is it waxy on the finish for either of you?
I was almost getting that a little bit earlier on where I was getting that creme brulee note. Where it's... Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. It's not...
It's hard to cut through, and then it does.
Almost like it's... Do you remember those little candies that had juice in them?
Pop bottles,
and
yeah. I was thinking
pop bottles?
Yep.
And you just kind of get that waxy, kind of a little bit of a waxy flavor on it.
That's what I was thinking of. I thought, I don't want to be the weird one to mention that.
Well, I don't know. I get for like a second. I kind of get that, and a little bit of it, and then it kind of goes away. But I do get Get what you're saying. It's not, but it's not like ridiculously heavy, but it is in there.
Are you guys getting, for me, there's a little bit of a grain alcohol note
Yeah.
that comes through about right towards the end as it goes into the finish a little bit. It's a little bit spiky, a little shiny.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like a real clean alcohol that just hits.
mhm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's got the flavor. Flavor and nose just they're not the same, and it's you get the spice and everything up front, and then all of a sudden it's just like washes away with that grain alcohol, and then
Right.
then it comes back a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say I'm not the biggest fan of this. On the palate, I find the notes a little bit spiky. They're not real integrated. They're kind of hitting here, hitting there. There just doesn't seem to be a nice flow from the time it hits your tongue to the finish. You can pull some interesting notes here and there, but that alcohol note's a little bit off. There's a sour note that's a little bit off to me. It just doesn't seem like everything is really congruent or really working together.
It's almost like it's an overripe apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what I'm getting in part of that, where it's like that, and I don't. It'd be interesting to see what if the barrels change over time. If just we'll always talk about kiln dried versus air dried,
Right.
And it was at the start of everything, so getting barrels might have been a little bit more difficult, especially from some places at that point, to see what type of barrel it was actually put in. So we'll look into that because that could play a factor. But you're right, it does have almost like an Irish whiskey, like a Tullamore, where it does that little bit of a grain note kind of pops up at the tail end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you do kind of get that. It's not quite metallic, but you can tell it's grainy. But yeah, sorry, Mike, didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I tried some water. Yeah, don't do that. It's weird. It's weird because it made that sharp grain right up the front, yeah, I don't. It's weird. It's just really weird.
I said overripe pear.
I don't dislike this. It's just
Right.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and not to say that it's terrible by any means or undrinkable or anything, but I think, as you've hit it, Patrick, we've had so many good whiskeys up until here recently. This one just doesn't come quite up to that level.
Oh, well, yeah. There's been some stuff we've had lately that were, not to say that this couldn't win medals in its own in some aspects, but I mean, the other ones were pretty outstanding, like, not, and I was going to say, and I think we might, start sliding back that other way where we're not hitting everything being like a 9, or a 9 to 10-ish range of things. Don't get me wrong, when I was saying over apple before, it might be like an overripe pear that I'm getting before that end, the shiny note and the barrel picks up. Give me a second here.
It just, the individual notes are nice. The way they all work together, it just doesn't work for me.
It doesn't feel like a single malt.
Mm-mm.
The nose, I think you get that, but I was gonna say I think it's just that little bit of like a grainy note at the end that I think is kind of hitting for most of us, where it's not kind of pulling what we were expecting from a single malt like that, where you're going full malted barley. It's just got a little bit of a spike, like a little, and the grainy little titch of funk note at the end of it.
Yeah,
it's not bad by any means. I'm not.
No,
but like you said, there's a cohesion that's not the same, and it could be because the nose is not the same as the taste.
Yeah.
So like you're nosing, you're expecting this. It's kind of a little more, where we were saying it was dense and kind of cohesive with like layered flavors. You're getting a couple of the flavors, but it's just that tail end of it that's got a little bit of real different punch to it.
Yeah.
But
it does lean more Irish to me than it does like what you would think of a single malt or a Scotch type. Whiskey would be.
Yeah, I would agree kind of the same with that. It's kind of more of an Irish single malt, but the titch of that. I'm going to go back again. I got enough. I can go back again. Yeah, it's like you said. There's if they were a little bit more cohesive on the notes from front to back on it, I think that might pull it and kind of come down on a little bit of a grain note. But I was going to say, you get the honey, you get a couple other things going on the front of it flavor wise, and then Ben was right. It's kind of each one kind of hops up for a second.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it flows like poop, 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 poop. Like things pop up as it's going down the line of it. But you know, I mean, I guess I was intrigued by it. They do a bunch of other releases where they'll do stuff and finish it in wine barrels and other stuff like that. So, not bad, not by any means. But I was going to say, just like Ben said, not crazy tip top like we've been kind of landing on lately. So that might be playing a factor of what it is. Just a little bit of the
snob factor coming in.
Huh?
That's a little bit of my snob factor coming in.
I'm all on board with it until that grain hits.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, and just dropped off, and now here you go, right in your face, and then it kind of fades away. It's like, well, what was that about?
Makes me wonder, and since they only got like 300 and some barrels out of it anyways, wonder if at say 50%, if maybe some of the other notes were a little denser and would have covered that up.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
That would be my only thought. Maybe a little bit higher proof might have kind of squashed that little bit of a grade note with something else, or even like a heavier barrel note overlapping it and kind of not giving it its chance.
Okay. I want to throw out a theory here. Do you know, are they using used barrels or new oak?
I would assume new oak at the time frame.
I'll pull this from my personal experience, and maybe somebody who's a distiller can come on and provide some correction at some point. But where I've worked with mini barrels in different aging and finishing stuff, what I have found almost 100% of the time is the nose comes along first and then the palate. So you start taking samples and the nose of it starts smelling good, but then you take a sip, and on the palate, you can still taste that it's young or it just hasn't got the cohesiveness yet. And so you keep waiting. And then eventually the palate part catches up with the nose. So I don't know how that plays, on a larger scale with using larger barrels and, with the distillery, but I've found that to be almost every single time when I'm doing these aging and finishing projects with mini barrels, it's the nose comes along first, the palate later. So I'm wondering, because of what we're finding, that to me, the nose is pleasant. I enjoy it. Maybe it needs another year or two in the barrel.
Well, I'm sure. Well, and I think that since they're in Milwaukee, it's probably more likely to be in a climate-controlled warehouse than kind of being outside and more so like that. So that might be playing a factor with not getting that huge top end kind of feel toward or dropping off the edge in winter like we do here with some of the other ones. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, for like I was gonna say, like Wisconsin's first tenure before people really had to play around with some of the things and had to learn a little bit more of the craft and stuff like that. We said not a bad whiskey, just the grain kind of thing at the end was just unexpected.
Yeah, very much. So
I think that's good for this evening. We will hop on out. Remember, up over there. Take a look over at, we had Russ on from the distillery, probably enlighten us maybe a little bit about that. Maybe one or two things, but yeah, they're doing a lot of other neat rise releases, and this might be really interesting to see, like we said, at a 12 or a 15 year, what happens, or if they, release it maybe 3 to 5% higher than what it is right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone else out there, thanks for stopping in. Remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone out there.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get the